Hello, what's up everybody? My name is Mike Brown, aka ReviewKingMB, and I am going to do a pretty weird buy or sell, but why not? They're my videos. This time, I know Spider-Man Homecoming is coming out, and I'm very much anticipating it, just like hopefully all of you, but this is like another what if scenario. What if before Sony rebooted it with The Amazing Spider-Man, before Marvel was able to get Spider-Man back home, and I know, hopefully you know how awesome that was. What if we got the Spider-Man 4 and 5 that was originally planned? Sam Raimi was going to direct at least two more Spider-Man movies, 4 and 5. I believe there were even talks about doing them back to back, like many movies have done. You would have Tobey Maguire back as Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and I liked Tobey. I did. I'm not saying that he's the best Spider-Man that we have had to date, but he did have a charm. He did have this unique aspect of Peter Parker down packed. Kirsten Dunst back as Mary Jane Watson. I remember at the time she was down to do these movies, and people crap on Kirsten Dunst and say just how bad of a Mary Jane she was, how bad the casting was, but I liked her, and I would have been interested to see where her and Peter as characters would have gone after Spider-Man 3. They went through a lot of ups and downs and they reconciled. Like, would they have gotten married? I think one of the best aspects of just thinking about this movie happening, if it did happen, would be to finally move Peter Parker as a character forward. Every time we reboot the character, it's back in high school, and I get it. That's some of the best stories. That's what makes Spider-Man unique as a character, is that he's so young. But there is a time in the comics where he does grow up. He does become an adult. He does get married to Mary Jane. He does become a teacher. He does have a family, a child. Like, we could progress to a point where we get there in the movies, and maybe these films would have done that. I know that there is storyboards, so this isn't rumor. This was gonna happen. You would have Mysterio at the beginning of the movie. Spider-Man have to take down the character Mysterio, which would have been cool and different for the Raimi movies, where you already have a villain established and Spider-Man take him down at the beginning. And when you pull the Mysterio globe off, it was supposed to be Bruce Campbell. Could you imagine how awesome? I think the theater would be clapping. I think people would love to see yet another cameo from Bruce Campbell, but this time him actually playing a villain. The main villain, from what I remember hearing, was supposed to be the Vulture. Even though we're getting him now, so many years later, we were supposed to get him back then. I still think it would have been awesome to see John Malkovich play the Vulture, because, well, one, he does look the part. He looks perfect, but he's such a great actor, and you could easily see him going to that dark place, going to that, even if it's over the top superhero-y, it could still be dark and menacing and scary, and I would like to see what he would do. Dylan Baker, I would want to see finally get to play the Lizard. He was already in two movies. They were clearly setting something up with him as Dr. Kirk Connors. You saw him have one arm. Like, it had to happen, and you could say it's overkill to have two villains in one movie. And yeah, that's true. Yeah, that seems to be the issue and the problems with the Spider-Man movies. When they do more than one villain like that, it gets overcrowded. And I agree. So maybe you don't need the Lizard, but I would like to see that paid off in some way. Or maybe you just save Lizard for Spider-Man 5. But also, Felicia Hardy was supposed to show up. And I remember the casting call. It was Rachel McAdams, who would have been great. Elijah Dushku, who I would have liked to see her get a big break, a big role like that. Or, from what I remember hearing, Anne Hathaway, who would later become Catwoman in The Dark Knight Rises, so that's kind of funny. But she was the lead. She was going to be cast as Felicia Hardy. And that would have been interesting, just to even have the Felicia Hardy character show up. They did the Gwen Stacy, not love triangle, but she created some dents in the Mary Jane Peter relationship. You could reintroduce Venom. You could. I know they killed Eddie Brock and he was played by Topher Grace, but if you brought Joe Manganiello back as Flash Thompson and have him become Venom, sure, it's not the Venom as a villain, it's not Eddie Brock, and it's not them fully capitalizing on Venom as a character, but it's still the only way that that original continuity could bring Venom back. Now, not in one movie, these are two separate movies, and these are ideas that you could have done. If you wanted to do Carnage and eventually get to a point where we did Carnage, I think Jim Carrey, to see him go full dark like that would be interesting. Or Matthew McConaughey, because I've seen Matthew McConaughey play dark and play evil and play crazy in a couple of movies, and I think he does that brilliantly. So I would love to see someone like him. Let me know, would you guys have wanted to have seen Spider-Man 4 and Spider-Man 5? I too am happy that Spider-Man's in the MCU now, but let's just pretend if they happened, what would you have wanted? Would you have wanted this stuff? Would you have wanted your own Spider-Man 4 and 5? Let me know in the comments below what that would look like. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Later!